No, you don't. I says, watch this. So we went in the grocery store and I said, give me a package of firecrackers. It was right near the 4th of July. Guy goes under the counter and he puts them up. He gives me a package of firecrackers. Well, anyhow, when we were kids, you could buy firecrackers from any grocery store. And we used to put firecrackers in the telephone pole and blow cans up in the air. And then we thought, gee, it would be fun to drop them down the manhole covers, And they go boom, you make a lot of noise down the manhole cover. Well, we dropped one down the manhole cover one day, and boom, and the manhole covers for 3 blocks around blew up in the air. Really clear it up in the air, and so, kids, we all hesitated and for a minute and then dashed home. And my dad came home and he said, did you hear about the manhole covers blowing off around the city and around the... And I said, yeah, that's pretty sad. And then I started laughing. He says, what are you laughing at? I said, he says, and the water was blowing out of some toilets in the houses. And I started laughing. I said, gee, that's funny. And he said, what's the matter? And he said, I said, suppose somebody's sitting on it.
What did you blow up? Oh.
Gas in the sewer.
In the sewer,
What about the steam whistle
Which one?
on your muffler?
Well, that was my brother. And my brother, I never wanted a car because it was expensive, see? And I could always borrow my dad's car, so. But my brother, he thought everybody ought to have a car, So he got a 31 Buick, I think he was, 31, something like that. And he put a cutout on the exhaust, and it put a steam whistle on the cutout. So that when he cut his car, gas went through a separate pipe, and he could pull a lever, and he go, sound like a train coming down the street. So he go down the street and go, whoop, whoop. Everybody move out of the way. But my brother was older than me, and he got special privileges that I never got. I think it was because the German influenced our family. The oldest kid gets the good things, and the little kid, he gets what's left over. Right. And so we lived in this house, 2-story house, and it had parking space for 2 cars, but one car had to go in and then kind of turn off the other one, and the other car went this way. So my brother, he was kind of a show-off, and he could come home any time of night, make a lot of noise, and it never bothered my folks. But if I sneaked in and I cracked the door, they were awake immediately. What time are you coming in? Why is it so late? But anyhow, one day he comes in with his car, and he has to park in the far end of the garage, and he comes in, revs up the engine, vroom, 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 and he forgets that he has the car in gear, and he lets out the clutch, and goes out the back door, goes out the back of the garage. He knocks the wall out.
Oh, no.
And he takes about 2-3 studs clear out of the house.
Oh, no.
So the house, I think, why didn't the house fall down? But it didn't. But he had to repair that. And my dad said, you fix it. No matter what you do. So he had to get a jack and, jack up the house so he can put the studs back in. But I was up there and laughing. Oh boy, I'm going.
It's your turn now.
I was a kid. I want to tell you one story. I think that was pretty good. My dad was a spare the rod, spoil the child type of guy. If you got in trouble, you got the back of his hand, or the belt. And one day, my brother and I were going at it, fist and cuff, banging, banging in the garage, and my dad came home and he says, okay, best way to keep you guys busy is to put you to work. He says, Frank, you go upstairs and clean up the bathroom. Harold, you go out and water the yard. Well, there's a 2-story house, and the bathroom was in the back end of the house. I'm down and watering the garden, and my brother thinks it's fun. I'll throw some water out. Boom, boom. And I says, no, you can't do that. And I turned the hose right into the window, I'm standing there holding the water, and it's going in the window. And I look down, and there's Dad. He could only see me and the hose. He didn't see Frank. So I said, I looked at the hose and I looked at my dad and I said, time to retreat. So I jumped the fence. Left town. I came back about 10 o'clock at night. My brother had finally admitted that it was his fault, because they were worried where I was,
Now, what about the car you guys put together in the hotel room?
No, we didn't do that.
That wasn't us.
We took a car apart and we put it together in the courtyard in this school.
Oh, okay.
This was the time I was going to Balboa High School, and we had about 5,000 students in that high school. That's a big high school. And they had this little car, I think it was an Austin. You ever heard of Austin? Austin. They were a little square little car. And we took it all apart, carried it piece by piece, and put it in the courtyard in the high school. And that was up like 30 stairs up. Yeah.
Just put it back together?
And put it back together in the courtyard.
In a single day?
What?
In one
in
night?
The evening, one evening. There was about 30 of us working on this thing.
Did you get caught?
Is that your senior
No,
prank?
no, it wasn't. We weren't seniors. We were freshmen.
So what happened in the morning?
The principal come on. He wants to know who owns the car. Well, the guy that owned the car, he wasn't even involved. We stole the car from him.
Did you put it back correctly?
He told him he cut the guy that owned the car. He says, "Take your car out of there." He said, "How do I take it out of here? There's a gate about this wide."
Oh no!
You have to take it all apart again.
Did it still run?
Oh, yeah,
how'd you guys get it out?
I remember they put that frame up sideways, get through the gate.
Yeah.
They had the body off of it,
And they still had no idea how it got there.
No.
I heard you used to roller skate down the streets of San Francisco.
Oh yeah, we
Oh, my
used to
God.
roller skate. Roller skated everywhere.
Got some speed.
Every Christmas I get a new pair of roller skates.
But these were the steel wheels?
These are steel wheels that strapped on your
With
Shoes.
a key.
with a key.
Yeah.
Union Hardware skates, I think they call them. And we used to play hockey on the street. We'd walk off the street and play hockey and put a detour sign out. So,
Zach can relate to that on the boardwalk.
and we put it.
Oh, don't throw any more Zach stories in.
We play with a square puck made out of pine,
Oh, yeah?
and you skate on the streets.
But what about the time where you blocked it off and you guys were racing and
Oh,
jumping
we were
hills?
ski jumping. Where we lived on a
Ski jumping.
hill, and it went down like this, and then the cross intersection was like this, and then it went down again. This is a very steep hill.
Air, huh?
And we get up speed, and we go down to this cross street, and then we jump. See how far we could go before we landed again.
On pavement.
On pavement.
On rollers, metal rollers.
With steel wheels.
With roller skates with steel wheels.
Yeah, they don't stick real good.
And
Sparks were
I
flying.
came down the hill one time, and I was going like this, and I made this jump, and I looked over, and there's my dad coming down the street
Oh.
in his car, and I
And he
said,
sees you flying in front of him.
and he sees me flying through the air. See?
Did you have someone down there like, okay,
Retreat.
Yeah, well, you used to kids that get out there and stop the cars, they they'd stay in the middle of the street and go, and nobody'd go by. And my dad says, it gives you the, what are you thinking of, I don't ever let me catch you doing that again. We said, no sir, we won't let you ever catch us doing that. So we moved it to, a couple blocks up.
Just not in front of your house.
Promise you wouldn't catch you.
You wonder where we picked this up, right?
It's in the gene pool, huh?
Yes.
But I always remember that word. Don't
You
ever
have
let
an
me
out for
catch
this
you.
now.
Okay, we won't.
Catch us. I was like,
You acquired a Jeep one time for your ship.
What?
A
Sled
Jeep.
run.
And
In the
this-
wintertime.
I
Oh
just-
yeah. When we're going to see,
Hey, Dom.
I was a cargo officer on the ship. I was the third mate. Was the cargo officer, and we were going into Finchow in New Guinea,
Yeah.
and we had a black second lieutenant who was in charge of certain cargo. It was he has to sign off of it, and he had to make sure that it got to a certain place. And he was a nice guy. He rode with the cargo to where we were going, and then once he signed off, he got off the ship. Well, he was a nice guy, and when we got to Finchhaven, the Army sent a guy down to receive the cargo, and he was a redneck from southern Atlantic coast someplace.
Yeah.
And he didn't like the fact that there was a black officer on the ship, and made it known to me. And he was a real bastard. And I said, I said, yeah, you know, he was really reading this guy off and telling him what a bad job he does. And I said, excuse me. So I went out to the gangplank and I said, how did that guy get this to the ship? And he says, came down in that jeep. So I got the boatswain aside and I talked to him. So that this redneck comes off the ship and his jeep's gone. And he says, where's my jeep? And I said, I don't know. And he says, well, I have to get a ride back to the base. And I says, well, you can use the telephone. There's a telephone on the end of the dock. And so he was walking down the dock. And I got a hold of the bosun. I said, what did you do with the jeep? He said, I put it in the forward cargo hold. And he says, I covered it up with dunnage. I says, good. We'll paint it gray when we get to sea. I figured, what the heck, you know. This guy was doing his job, and
He deserves it.
yeah.
Took his Jeep.
So we stole his jeep, and we put our.
So when you and Grandma met, you was Halloween costume. What was your outfits?
I was a wolf.
And what was Grandma?
Tell us how you met Grandma.
She was in a cowgirl outfit.
In a mini skirt?
In a miniskirt.
And all the times you got yelled at for wearing one?
Remind me.
Is that how you guys met?
That was Halloween.
We met at a church social, actually.
What were you doing at a church social?
His brother was.
My brother was fixing me up for the date, and I thought, what kind of girl is this that you can't get a date, you know? She thought the same thing, you know?
Was it Grandma that you were being set up with?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, so it turned out.
His brother and Grandma's sister were playing matchmakers. Wasn't Aunt Crystal playing at matchmakers? Oh, I thought Aunt Crystal was.
The French wife.
And
But you were living with Aunt Crystal at the time, weren't you?
Yeah.
How long did you date?
And so how mom got to San Francisco, how? You ran away? Or you just decided to leave Cleveland?
Well, I graduated from high school,
Yeah.
and I went to Loyalton. My sister had a baby, and I stayed with her until she didn't need me any longer. And then I went down to San Francisco, and Crystal and George had the grocery store. And they asked me if I would stay in the grocery store. So I did. I was working in the grocery store when I met him.
So how much longer till you got married? That was
We-
your first date.
And then with the second date, we were engaged, and then the third date, we got married.
Well, now we know why you didn't take out anybody more than once.
What?
Now we know why you didn't take out anybody more than once.
Second date's always ended in engagements.
He didn't want the commitment.
So you were married before you
So it was a long
deployed.
time between dates.
It was a long time between dates.
Why?
Year and a
Because
half.
he
I was
was in
at
New
sea.
York.
I was at sea.
Yeah.
guys writing?
Yeah, we were corresponding.
Every day.
No
Love
texting.
letters.
But you were you a member?
No,
So you were.
Converted right before they got married, didn't you?
yeah.
Tell us about that process.
What's that?
Becoming a member of the church and investing in the church.
Well, it's kind of interesting. My brother and his wife were members, and Carnell was a member, and I thought, well, I got to find out what this church is all about. So I went into the mission headquarters in New York City, and I, opened the door, and the mission president says, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "What can you tell me about the church?"
Oh, you just opened yourself up right there.
He's all,
answer.
how much time do you have?
Yeah, that was it. It was funny, I was in the Mercury Academy and there was like, I think 1,200 students at the academy. And there was 4 members of the church.
Really?
That wasn't very many, 1,200 people. And this other guy and I used to go to church together.
What was your scariest moment during the war?
Well, I don't know, we had a lot of them. We had one incident, I was a cadet, we were sailing in Aleutian Islands up, going into Adak. And that's the only place they ever had any submarine activity from the Japanese. And so one night, or one afternoon, I guess, we spotted a submarine following us. And we were on a ship that could go with top speed of like 10.5 knots, real speedy vessel.
Like our boat.
Well, and the Japanese submarines were notoriously slow.
Oh, yeah?
And he couldn't catch up to us. He was off our stern. So we said, we tried to blinker him. We thought maybe it might have been an American submarine.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't respond. So we took our cover off our 5-inch 51, which was a surface gun. Big bag ammunition gun. And we fired a couple of shots out there. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
And they didn't respond because they were farther away and they had a smaller gun. I mean, they had, what, a 3-inch gun on the submarine, something like that. We had this 5 and we were lobbing these shells out. But the seas were like this, where you're standing on the stern of the ship. It's like being on an elevator going up and down. And you shoot, and one your shell would go up and flash. And then you go down like this and you shoot, and the projectile goes chick, 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 across the water. And, you can't get a good shot on this, and then the stern's going this way, so we're hitting both sides of this guy. And so pretty soon I think the guy got worried that we might get lucky.
He probably got afraid.
Multiple ships up there.
So he took off.
Now you were sailing one time, and I guess the bosun's mate got mad at you because you drunk too much coffee, and you made his ship a certain color.
Oh yeah, that was the second mate. I was still a cadet up in the Aleutians, up in the Pribilof Islands, which is north of the Aleutians.
Really?
And it's cold up there. We were going up to supply a Navy base in Pribilof Islands. Well, as it was, I was on the 12 to 4 watch, which, it's a cold time of the night.
It's hard to stay awake.
And I'd get a drink of a warm drink of some sort, chocolate or something, hot water, and I'd go up on watch. Well, about 2 hours into the watch, I had to hit the head, see. And I'd tell the mate, and he'd say, okay, go down. Well, he got tired of me going down.
Have to go to the head.
Going to the head, and I was always over on the windward side of the bridge, and he'd take the lee side, so I always get the wind. So he says, I'm tired of you. He says, I don't go down during my watch. I don't get a break. He said, you can do the same thing. Don't take a break. And I says, all right, I'll try that. So after the first watch at breakfast the next morning, he says, Mr. Clark, I'd like to talk to you. And I says, yeah. And he says, come up the bridge. He says, I told you couldn't take a break. I says, I didn't take a break. And he says, yeah, but you did something else. He says, look down there, there's yellow icicles.
Leave your post.
I said, I can get off the bridge.
Now when you came back to the East Coast, you did a navigation thing that your skipper was really happy with.
Oh yeah, that was my last trip. That was just before they installed a Marshall Plan. They needed all the vessels to carry stuff to Europe.
And you were the navigator, right?
And I was a navigator, and we might tell you the background of this story. We were on a food supply ship, with lots of free for college storage spaces, and we went out to Guam, and we had like, I don't know, 1,500 cases of beer and a whole bunch of 900 cases of Coca-Cola and a lot of potatoes and other foods. Well, they took everything off but the beer and the Coke. And they stuck us at anchor in Apra Harbor. And we were sitting at anchor for, I don't know, a month or so. And the crew was getting down into the beer, you know. And we were trying to keep them out of the beer, but they couldn't get out. They'd go down the ventilated shaft and so we got the crew together and says, okay, you can get in the beer, but don't dump the beer cans over so that they're floating around the harbor over both ends. Okay, so
both ends of the
both ends of the can so that they don't float.
Yeah, think a little.
That's what it's
You want
saying.
your litter to fall to the bottom.
Yeah. So we finally got rid of all the beer cans. We were missing 1,400. What was it? 1,400 cases or something.
1,400 cases of beer.
That's a party.
Actually,
1,400 times 24.
and actually we used some of that because we got some of the natives out and we repainted the ship because the war was over. So we repainted the ship in peacetime colors: black hull, white hull, cap, masts and navigation. So they put a big M on the stack.
Bunch of drugs, man.
We paid them in beer.
We paid him in beer.
And you ran out.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you have any left when you were done, or was it all gone?
Oh no! Shoot, that ship was half full of beer. And they said the inventory is not right. And I said,
Anyway, tell us about your trip home.
We got it painted.
well, so on our trip home, they said we want you to get that ship home as soon as possible, fastest route possible. So I was a navigator on the ship, and I said, Captain, can I have a little leeway with that? And he says, yeah, you can go any way we want, which is the fastest way. Well, if you know anything about the circulation currents in the world, you have the Gulf Stream goes up the coast on the Atlantic coast, and it comes down on the Pacific coast. So you get a circulation pattern in the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, you get what's also called a counter circulation pattern at the equator, so that the waters go in the other direction.
Yeah.
And at this point, you get about 4 miles an hour
Really?
drift.
Yeah.
So I took the ship and I said, Captain, we're going to go up to the equator and then go across. That ship did 14 knots normally. I got up in the equatorial calendar, got up to 19 knots.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
And you're navigating with the sextant, right?
I'm navigating with sextant.
Whew.
So I got him over and I took him through the canal and up the east coast. And the captain says, when are you going to be off Narragansett? No, we're going into Newport, I can't remember the Chesapeake Bay. And there's a light buoy out there. And he says, when are you going to come up on the light buoy? And I says, any minute now, Captain. And just then, it's just on clue, the forward lookout says, navigation buoy dead ahead. And I told the captain, what luck? And he said, luck didn't have anything to do with it.
Wow.
So halfway around the world and right on the mark.
Yeah.
Right on the mark.
What
Yeah.
luck.
That's what I told him. I said, what luck? And he said, luck didn't have anything to do with it.
I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good captain.
Will you tell the story about the one where you had to zigzag, 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 and you'd fall behind?
Oh yeah, when you're in convoy, the good convoy commodore would take the slowest ship in the convoy and then take position on him, because then the slow guy could, put it full ahead and let go. Well, we were the slowest ship in the convoy, but they decided to go faster than the slowest ship in the convoy. You know what that does? That puts the little guy, he's got further out. So, but we're running a zigzag pattern. You go off this way, and then you go around, and then you go back this way, and then you go off the other way. And Captain says to me, he says, "How are we going to keep up?" I says, "Leave it to me, Captain."
Go straight.
That's what I did.
As
Soon as the sun went down, I straightened out that course. The convoy would go off this way, and then it'd go over this way, and we were going right out down the middle. The sun would come up in the morning, and we were right in position.
How do you do that?
He says, "How'd you do that?" And I says, "I'm going to tell you, Captain."
Good secret.
What luck?
What luck?
Grandpa, it sounds like you like to bend the rules a little bit.
Oh,
You push the envelope.
Is that where Karen learned that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned from the best. Passed it on to my children.
Yep.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sierra does.
Sarah doesn't.
No, Sarah's pretty good.
Sarah doesn't push the envelope like that.
Not like you do.
So
Not like you did. I'm pretty sure Kristen wadded that envelope up and burned it.
Whatever.
You know, I always thought we're here on this planet once, and we're here to experience life.
Yeah, she's gonna experience it all.
And I'm gonna push it.
What was your favorite Christmas?
What?
A favorite Christmas?
Well, I don't know. We always had fun at Christmas, I thought, for the kids.
Yeah.
And not too many big Christmas presents, but it was funny.
You got 4 bikes one year.
Oh, I got
I
4.
remember
That's a heck of a
that.
year.
Huh?
That's a heck of a year.
Yeah, it was a terrible year. I had to put those things together.
I put one together with an egg
That
turtle.
was the worst year ever.
I know it wasn't. It was a butter knife and an ice cream scoop.
Ice cream scoop.
In the snow.
Never had any
Should be
tools
fine.
at home.
I didn't
Every
bring
time we
any
bought them
tools.
they ended up at work.
How'd you end up in Carson City?
Work. Yeah. I worked. I was a safety engineer for Shell, but I had previously been a chemical engineer for Shell, but Shell development research, and the research was getting kind of complicated, and they needed an engineer to look after the safety of these crazy scientists, So they asked me if I'd like to be a safety
That's when they created a safety engineer?
Yeah, and I thought, hey, that sounds like
Tell me what they
Yeah.
did with the super glue that one time the guy was playing with the glue they made up.
Can't remember.
They glued his fingers together. He was
Oh
playing.
yeah, we did that.
Oh yeah, we did that.
This Mazda engine, what do they call it?
The
The white
angels.
quartering.
Yeah.
We built one of them before they ever had one.
Really?
Yeah, we had it in the laboratory, running away. I said, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
We had one running in one of the laboratories.
But tell us what happened with the guy with the glue.
I can't remember that.
You were telling me he was doing this with it, and then his fingers stuck, and then they had to cut his fingers apart,
Oh,
slice it apart.
And they discovered the super glue then?
It was like a super glue they were
Yeah.
playing with.
Well, tell us a story, because I think it's fascinating when we know what real estate markets are now. Building the house in Walnut Creek, what you guys paid for the lot and the kit. Did you buy the kit at Sears and Roebuck?
no.
Oh.
Actually, we bought the lot in Walnut Creek before we had any chance to building a house, and I had a plan to build that I wanted to put on the lot. I went down to the bank, showed them the plan, and they kind of poo-pooed. You're not a carpenter, you're not a builder.
Yeah.
They wouldn't loan me any money. See, so there was a guy in our ward. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Arnell. Lindsay. Lindsay Brothers.
You're on it, Grams.
Lindsay Brothers. This guy says, "Hell out! I'll tell you, I'm going to be the builder.
Yeah.
I'll go, and you're my subcontractor." So I got the loan. Well, I think I paid $1,900 for the lot or something like that.
Wow.
And I paid $10,000 for the house.
Yeah.
And the guy was building houses about 3 blocks from us, and they were called modular houses, where they haul in the wall already built, and you put it up and you nail it down. Well, my brother and I had been helping a lot of his friends, and friends of both of us. They were all builders, and guy was a floor layer, and another guy was a roofer, and another guy was a plasterer, and another guy was a hardened floor man. And we've been helping those for a couple of years. Everybody's building their own house. So when I was building our house, we got the foundation down and the subfloor in, and then the guy said, I'll start bringing in the modular section. We had the subfloor down, and they brought in the sections. One day, I had 10 carpenters there.
Really?
10 journeyman carpenters. We put up all the sidewalls, all the roof rack, all the ceiling joists, and a siding on the side of the house in one day.
That's a big day.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of nice, you know. I have all my friends.
How long did it take to build a house before we all moved in?
Oh, I think it was 6 months, something like that.
Wow.
And then I built an extension on the house. I think it took me 2 years to 3 years to finish the extension.
Yeah, been there.
So you paid
3 years, man. That's a fast track,
A
right?
year and a half to do
So
a
you
kitchen.
paid about
Eight to do ours.
$11,000, $12,000 for the whole house?
Yeah.
And when you sold it, what did you sell it for? When you moved to Seal Beach?
I think it was 52,000.
And now it sells for like 300.
Is that house still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What street is it?
It's on Grand Avenue. It's, yes, 2032. But the street used to be called Alma Avenue.
Yeah, Alma.
And there was another Clark family that lived on the Alma Avenue.
I remember when we did the extension, and there was a part of the foundation there. And when he did the extension, he put a bathroom out there.
Yeah.
As a
And
garage.
then I was the little guy at the time, and we got to go through this foundation, chisel a hole for the sewer.
You got elected?
Yeah.
Well, I think
You had to
we
go
got
in
the
and
hole
help after
through
earthquakes, huh?
before we ran the pipe. And you helped with the pipe, I think.
Yeah. Well, I remember chiseling with the
It's a
chisel and the sledgehammer, and
it was a battered foundation, flat on one side, like this. So it gets a long ways through there, you know.
The well in the front yard was only about 13, 14 feet deep, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dug with the well.
But dug it with a
postal
postal
digger.
We had a
You guys had
well.
a water well?
We never used it.
Oh, a wishing well.
No, we had a well. It had a pump on it and stuff, but
I didn't remember.
I don't remember ever using it though.
Oh, you didn't use it for your drinking water?
no,
Or
it was
anything.
landscaping.
Oh, okay.
But it was like 13 feet deep. I remember
Pretty
drilling
deep
with
with a postal digger.
one of those twist ones that you pull out, shake it out.
Water, yeah.
Yeah, we hit water at 6, clear water at 13.
Really? That's a pretty high water table.
A special memory with your mother.
What?
A special memory with your mother.
My own mother?
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember too many. My mother was a good cook.
Oh, yes.
Oh, she was a great cook. And she thought I liked lamb. And we'd go down there and they'd have leg of lamb, and I thought, well, it's okay, it's not my favorite food.
That's a good piece of beef, huh?
Yeah.
what color was your brother's wife's hair?
All colors.
It depended on the holiday.
The rainbow.
Oh, it'd be green, it would be red. Green, just bright green. It would be like that green right there.
Really?
Yeah, it's Christmas, green hair. You go over there for Halloween, it would be orange like that.
Very festive.
Always or certain
She was
certain decades.
she was very she was very talented girl as far as
Interior decorating.
Well,
like everything was
as
very
far
flamboyant.
as parties were concerned. She put on a good show. Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, I remember they had the house where the boys, you guys were jumping off the corner of the roof into the swimming pool. Do you remember that? In Redwood City? No, in
I remember he
Somerville?
built he built the boat in the garage and had to take the front of the house
yeah,
off to
it's
get the boat out.
Oh, he had to take the trim off of the garage.
Just the trim.
Not the
Just
whole
the
wall,
trim.
huh?
He built just the trim off his garage door. He built it that close. He had
pretty tight tolerance.
Yeah.
I remember that when we christened the boat.
Didn't quite get that
Yeah.
tape out to the quarter round.
And he put it on rollers to roll it out because he had to get it right down on the ground. Had 2-inch pipe
Wow.
and it was it was touching all the way around.
Hey, Grandpa, are the chip stories exaggerated?
The what? The what?
Chip
The
stories.
chip stories.
Oh yeah, they got elaborated. And
But wasn't it true Chip could open the door with he could open the door?
he could open doors.
Is this a
So
dog?
we never knew
Yeah.
if that was true or not, considering Dad was obsessed with
He opened doors.
Considering
He had an easy time with the
ability
gates,
to exaggerate a story.
With gates with latches were easy. You just got up there, and out he go.
But
Was
He
he a
escaped
thief?
from the kennel, remember?
Yeah, that's right. I put him in a kennel, and he. The funny thing about I told the guy, I said, "This dog opens doors." He says, "Sure, I never lost a dog in 20 years or something." And when I called him up, and he said he got out, and I went down to see him. He says, "You know that dog? I put him in a kennel, and he opened the latch on the gate." I says, "I told you that." He says, and then he went in my house. He opened the back door and went in the house.
How
And
does
he
he
lit-
open it with his mouth?
Well, he grabbed the doorknob and turned it.
Tell Kristen how he got into the dog food cans.
Oh yeah, and he went in the house, and he says he laid down with my other dog in front of the fireplace. And I said I thought he was okay, but he says the next morning he opened the front door and left. I couldn't think of it.
Well, he was in Seal Beach.
Just here
I
for
think
the
he
night.
was trying to go back to Walnut Creek.
Well, how would he get into the dog food?
Well, we used to go on trips every once in a while. We have to lock them up. Well, we finally put a catch-away up on the door and
Where he couldn't reach.
hook and eye,
Yeah.
and we put him in the garage, and then the neighbor's kids would come over with the dog food and feed him and let him out to do his stuff, and the kids weren't good about feeding him on time, so he'd take the can and he'd squeeze him, in his jaws, and flatten the can out, so that the food would.
What kind of dog is this?
It was
A mastodon.
That's a mammoth.
It was a German Shepherd and something.
She wanted to know if he stole radios.
He did. He stole. He
Only
used
when
to
the
come
ball
home.
game was on.
He
He would
used to
steal
come,
everything.
He used to come home with sacks of dog food. He'd be dragging them down the street. down the street, and Dennis or one of the kids would have to put it out by the mailbox.
The owners come get it.
The shoes, but one Sunday he showed up with somebody's radio and it was still playing the ball game.
Just got the handle in his mouth.
Dennis tried to find. He went around the neighborhood and tried to find people and couldn't find any. Pretty soon the guy shows up and he says, "I heard you got a radio." Did he see you? I guess he was. I don't remember whether he saw me or. And he said, "Well, we asked him to describe the radio." And he said, "Yeah, we got your radio." He says, "I was cutting my hedge. I was listening to the ball game, and all of a sudden it stopped."
They were just
I
knew about Chip and his kleptomaniac
You know, if you'd
habit.
really trained him right to bring home the right stuff.
I don't know. Radio's pretty good.
We used to put shoes out by the mailbox because he'd come home with somebody's shoes and we'd have to put them out by the
And so if
mailbox.
someone ever just
You
came
know,
up
kind of
missing
like
something, they'd
hubcaps
come
fall
by
off
the
cars,
house.
you put them out by the mailbox so people driving by can find their hubcap. Well, we used to put the shoes out there.
One time, Arnell got a ticket for the dog because he wasn't on a leash.
Oh, I didn't know they had leash laws like that.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say those
And
existed.
and the policeman came up to Arnell and said, "Why do you not have him on a leash?" And she says, "Well, he protects the property." And when the patrolman got up, the dog was on his porch and he wouldn't let him on the house. and Arnell says, "Well, he's a watchdog." And he says, "What good's a watchdog if he's not on a leash?" He says, Arnell says, "He didn't let you in."
And he gave her a ticket?
Yeah, she had to go to court.
Wait, but he was on your property.
Not when he saw him.
No.
Chased him home.
when he first saw him, he was down the street.
Stealing radios.
But
He was casing the place.
He knew his school was out because his school was about, what, 3/4 of a mile down the road, and he'd be at the gate every day at school.
Really?
Waiting for you guys.
Waiting for us to
When you
come
guys
out
got out of
school.
school, he'd be there?
He'd be there.
That's
Elementary school.
Uh-huh.
So,
About
he
6
was
blocks.
for your dog, wasn't he?
It is my
Ted claims him.
I know.
the Henderson family and his by the couch, his deposit.
He made a deposit?
Yeah. He jumped in their window. And to visit, you were at
And they live
their
quite a
house.
ways
We
from
would go to
us.
their house all the time, and they had a dog also.
Yeah.
But apparently went over there, went through their window, went behind into their living room, and behind the main sofa, took a dump, and then left.
Was he trying to tell him something?
Oh my
And
god.
Mom gets a call from Sister Henderson about your dog, and you had to go over there and clean it up.
Richard complained.
The Hendersons did not live that
And
close.
this is
Far
over.
away.
This is 3/4 of a mile away.
Yeah.
He really,
But there's a
he was trying to send a message.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
And my
the dog
cat
likes
never did things like that.
Your cat,
Fuzzy.
that's the one that got the basketball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, he's
it was-
bounced the
no,
basketball off its
it was
head.
eating food. And it was eating the food, and somebody made a swish, and it went right through and kind of took the head and the plate and
But
crooked
But
it.
she could
That
never
is
walk
just-
straight anymore.
that
She
was
was sideways.
We would go to school in the morning, and the cat would come up on the porch and want to run in the house. Well, we couldn't go to school; it'd go and hide. But it would run with its tail straight up. So
Sideways?
it would come in between our legs, and we just reach down, grab the tail, and flip it back out. This is always trying to sneak in with his tail straight up.
Fuzzy, my kitty Fuzzy. But she couldn't walk straight after that. She kind of.
Walked with a pink lip.
Kind of rattled her brain.
What about Chip's reaction to Dennis attempting to play the harmonica?
I don't remember that.
He would howl.
Oh yeah, right. He was definitely afraid of fireworks. He, 4th of July, he'd go hide under the bed.
He was an outside dog too. He
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
an indoor dog.
It was a funny thing though. Greg would bring him in the house, and when I got home or Arnell got home, he'd head for the door because he knew we were going to throw him back out.
It's like Sapphire.
yeah, she just wasn't a house dog. She knew it. You guys just didn't.
She knew the rules, right?
She'd run out the minute he got home.
Would sneak her in.
Well, that was when she got stuck on the iceberg overnight.
What?
She disappeared one night, and we went looking for her the next morning when we lived in Vivian Park, and there was this mound, and I could hear this whimper, and I thought maybe the coyotes had got her, so I told the kids, stay behind. Well, a little piece of ice had broken loose on the pond. It's only this far from the shore, but she wouldn't get off of it, so she's
Iceberg.
stuck on the iceberg.
The shore's right here.
She went through the jump.
No. So we brought her home and put her in front of the
Good
fire.
deputy.
And I'm rubbing her tummy, and every time I'd stop, she'd take my paw and put it back on her.
Take your paw.
That explains a lot there.
So then he gets home, she hightails it out of the house. She wasn't
She
supposed
like
to be
looked
there.
up and went, oh crap. I'm not supposed to be in the house.
And this is in Utah in the middle of winter.
You know, freezer burn, frostbite or something.
She'd get a coat on her like a grizzly bear. I mean, she'd get fur like that thick. Man, that was a tough dog, huh?
She was a tough dog.
So the house was on a street with a slight hill to it, and
That was a slight hill.
that was like the coaster hill.
Oh, yeah.
So we built all kinds of
Coasters,
coasters
that's
and
the
everything
word I was
else.
thinking of.
Coasters.
And, with skates and
Roller skates.
finally we graduated to real wheels. But
Pieces
usually-
of wood,
but
whatever
usually
you could
we started
find.
out by
Usually it was
taking
a
our
pole.
skates apart.
Your feet and a rope, and that
Yeah,
was
it
the
was a two
steering.
before and a center pin.
Right? Yeah, you got it.
And a rope. That's all it took.
Yeah.
And a box.
And then we graduated to finally we would buy a 2-horse Briggs and Stratton and a
Motorized, huh?
and a centrifugal clutch and
Sometimes,
then we have
sometimes they
our
came
mini
from plaster
go-karts to
mixers
run
down
around.
the street too.
Yeah.
The thing is, Mason can't make plaster.
When I did the Camelback Apartments, they missed a lot of gas pipe too.
Yeah.
Okay, story with Dennis. A story with Dennis.
Dennis was little.
Yeah.
I remember first reaction with Dennis. We lived in an apartment, a flat in San Francisco. Karen was little, and we had a bathroom with a toilet in one room and a tub and a wash basin in the next room. So if you wanted to go to the bathroom to go to the toilet, you had this little room to sit in. And we had a potty chair for Karen to sit in. And invariably, when Karen had to go to the bathroom, he had to go to the bathroom. So, there was always a little conflict of who gets there first. Well, I got in. One time, Karen was on the pot, and he had to go, and she got wet.
I made her open up her legs.
Shane would try to pull that with me too. It's like we would race for the bathroom. It was the same thing, and he's like, "We can go at the same time."
I've got really good
No. Nothing to regret this question.
Trust me, Kristen, I got this.
No, this is gonna get peed on.
No, I can remember walking down the hall and him and Richard would be in the bathroom and I could hear Richard screaming, "If you pee on me one more time!"
Stop making me laugh.
It's all about.
Okay, I'm hoping a nice story with Karen.
Yeah.
A nice story.
Peed on by my brother.
Karen was the nicest baby we ever had. Dennis was a terror when he was young. Karen, we put her down and she'd sleep. She only woke up when she got hungry, right, Marnell?
I'm still that way.
Some things never change.
So I'm curious with.
I remember Karen making some punch for a bunch of people in the bathtub.
I did.
Yeah, and Mom and Dad went to the Globe to do their thing, and you had all your friends over and had a party at the house. And
Is that where you learned it, Kristen?
punch in the tub.
Boy, I have no memory of that one.
Yeah, right.
Is that the one where you're throwing all the fruit in the tub with the alcohol?
Yeah, right.
Oh, yes. I didn't do that, did I?
Not that I remember.
That was the day that the guy was showing off out front in his car, and they just re-oiled the road and put the gravel down, and he blew the rear end out or transmission out of his car. He thought he was because we're on a hill, the guys would come out in the slick asphalt and they pop the clutch and spin the tires real easy. Well, they resurfaced the road.
Locked up, huh?
Yeah, locked up, and the guy blew his transmission. I remember Dad laughing.
So, a story about Scott. Moving on.
Wait, but I'm curious, like, with Mom growing up with 3 boys, was she tough as nails, or did she maintain?
No, I
girly.
See that chin?
She had her own bedroom. We had to share.
I like the story about the car whose door didn't close and people fell out of it as you drove along the road.
He rolled out of the car right in the middle of the intersection. Fortunately, in front of the doctor's office.
No, but Mom was making a U-turn and we were making so much noise, the door flew open, he fell out in the middle of the street, and we were saying, "Scott fell out, Scott fell out," and you just tune the noise down until I think you looked in the rear view mirror and saw him huddled in the
I remember one
childproof door.
I remember one of Karen. Karen had a good friend,
Jim
Fleming, who was not one of her beaux, but
not a boyfriend. Just
not a boyfriend, but they shared a lot of time. And he'd come over and see her, and Karen would lean out the window and talk to him through the window.
And he'd stand on the spigot of the hose and water get up there.
He'd stand on the water faucet out in front of the house, and so he could look in the window and talk to her. And this was in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So I used to have the baseball bat.
He was the Little League coach. He had a bag of bags. A bag of bats and balls and
so I got one of the baseball bats and I opened the door and then I saw it was Jim Fleming. I said, "Jim, you come in the house if you want to talk to my daughter. You don't have to talk through the window." And he came in the house And you know, as soon as they got in the house, they didn't want to talk anymore.
No fun anymore.
No fun, no more fun. You know, they shut up. And it was absolutely quiet. And he finally went
Too
home.
boring.
But he thought he was going to go out there and beat a peeping Tom. You know, he had the bat. He was ready.
I was
So he
ready
decided
for